Captain James Jabara, 4th Fighter Interceptor Wing. His first-hand duels with Soviet-flown MiG-15s were among the most detailed and dramatic, and his combat record forced Soviet advisors to confront a truth they refused to believe: American pilots owned the Korean skies. There is a rule every Soviet advisor carries into the Korean War, a rule so ingrained it feels like physics. You do not challenge the Red Air Force in a dogfight and expect to win. For years, that truth has stood unshakable. The MiG-15 is the jewel of Soviet aerospace engineering. Swept wings, a 35,000-foot service ceiling, two 23mm cannons, and a 37mm monster that can pulp a bomber with a half-second burst. Its performance in the late 1940s convinces entire nations that Soviet pilots own the next era of air combat. Every advisor sent to Manchuria believes the same thing. The MiG is the apex predator. Everything else is prey. And when American F-80s and F-84s struggle early in the war, it confirms everything. Soviet pilots watch the kill counts, nod confidently, and reaffirm the rule. But in the late 1950s, a new fighter arrived. A golden bullet, a swept wing answered that the Soviets do not expect. And on a cold Korean morning in 1951, one American pilot known for precision, aggression, and a strange calm under fire forces Soviet advisors to confront the moment they never imagined: their MiG-isn't king anymore. Soviet advisors to confront the moment they never imagined: their MiG-isn't king anymore. In 1951, James Jabara would shatter the rule. James Jabara is 26 years old, barely 5'5", a wiry, quiet Kansas kid, born to Lebanese immigrants. He grows up pumping gas, dreaming about flying, and mastering one trait no enemy ever expects: he makes chaos feel slow. In World War II, he racks up 1.5 kills in P-51s, but the war ends before his talent matures. Korea is different. Korea is where jet combat evolves daily, where a split-second mistake at 600 miles per hour ends your life before you register the danger. When the 4th Fighter Interceptor Wing transitions to the new North American F-86 Sabre, Jabara becomes one of the first pilots trained to use the jet's advantages with almost mathematical precision. The F-86 is not perfect. It climbs slower than the MiG. It turns slightly worse above 30,000 feet. Its ceiling is lower. On paper, the MiG still wins. But the Sabre has something else, something impossible to replicate in engineering specs. A pilot corps forged in World War II, battle-tested, disciplined, aggressive, and armed with radar-assisted gun sights that turned instinct into a targeting solution. In 1951, Jabara deploys to Kimpo Air Base. By now, MiG Alley is legend, a 200-mile strip on the Yalu River, where Soviet, Chinese, and North Korean pilots operate with near impunity. The Soviets believe their advantage is total. They fly from Anteng across the river. They know unjets cannot legally strike their bases. They climb to 45,000 feet and swoop down like hawks. American pilots call them honchos, the elite. And those honchos believe the rule holds: the MiG will always beat the Sabre. But in April 1951, Jabara climbs into his F-86A, call sign Yellow 13, and heads toward MiG Alley. He's about to face 8 Soviet-flown MiGs at once. And this will be the moment, the exact instant, when Soviet advisors realize American jets rule the Korean skies. The morning is clear. Visibility, 20 miles. Altitude, 33,000 feet. Temperature, 40 degrees. Jabara scans the horizon. Their tiny silver needles against the blue. 8 MiG-15s are climbing through 38,000 feet. He pushes his throttle forward. The Sabre responds with a rising scream. Your pulse picks up with his... The MiGs bank south, crossing into the alley. They fly tight, disciplined, confident. A classic Soviet formation finger, 4 stacked in pairs. Jabara radios, boogie group, 11 o'clock high, coming down. His wingman acknowledges, then the MiGs dive. The sky becomes geometry at 600 miles per hour. Present tense hits you with full force. Jabara rolls left. The MiGs scream past yellow nose flashes, wing shadows cutting the sun. He pulls 6 Gs, body crushed into the seat. Breath forced short, vision tunneling. 800 yards, 600, 400. He picks the lead MiG Silver, red numerals on the tail. A Soviet pilot, almost certainly. Jabara squeezes the trigger. The Sabre's 6.50 cals erupt. Brass casings trail away in glittering spirals. He tracks the MiG's right-wing route. Hit, another hit. The MiG peels off, black smoke spooling from the engine. Jabara shouts. He's burning. He doesn't watch the crash. He can't, because two more MiGs dive on him from above. Tracer lines slice past his canopy. Each looks slow, bright red, sparks drifting lazily. But each one is a half-inch slug, moving at nearly 3,000 feet per second. Jabara yanks the stick. The Sabre snaps into a vertical climb. He feels the weight 7 gigaseconds pressing his body into lead. His breathing shifts to the crisp, short-hook breaths fighter pilots use to stop blackouts. The MiGs overshoot. He rolls inverted behind them. 300 yards, 250, 200 he fires. The second MiG explodes, bright orange halo, shards tumbling like burning leaves. 2 kills, 30 seconds. Soviet advisors watching from radar stations across the Yalu freeze. This cannot be happening, not this fast. Not to one American, not to a Sabre. But it gets worse. A third MiG dives on his wingman. Jabara moves without thinking. Throttle slams forward. Air compresses around him. Mock Buffet trembles the wings. He closes the distance. 1,500 yards. 1,200. 1,900. 2. Far most pilots wouldn't fire. He fires anyway. A full 2-second burst. Bullets rake the MiG from the tail forward. Panels shear off like paper in a storm. The pilot ejects, parachute blooming against the sky. 3 kills. Soviet comms erupt in confusion. 3 kills from one Sabre in under 2 minutes. Advisors demand altitude corrections, radar recalibrations, anything to rationalize what they're seeing. But the truth is simple. The MiGs regroup. They form a defensive circle, classic Soviet doctrine. Jabara doesn't wait. He dives straight into the circle. It's suicidal, reckless, unthinkable, unless you understand something no Soviet planner ever considers. At this altitude, in a high-G rolling dive, the Sabre's control surfaces hold stability better than the MiGs. The circle breaks, for MiGs scatter. Jabara picks the lowest one. He descends behind it. 550 mph, 620. The Sabre vibrates. Buffet's wings humming like struck metal. He steadies, fires. A stream of bullets tears across the MiG's spine. The fighter erupts, bright flash, smoke spiraling downward in a wide black ribbon. 4 kills, and now the revelation. A Soviet ace, flying under the call sign White 17, breaks formation entirely and runs north toward the Yalu. Runs a Soviet MiG fleeing an American Sabre. This is the moment. The moment Soviet advisors realize the rule is broken. Realize the MiG doesn't dominate the sky. Realize American jets piloted by men like Jabara in the airspace. The fear is immediate, palpable, historic. If you find this kind of forgotten history and the human stories behind it as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of courage, sacrifice, and genius deserve to be told. And by subscribing, you help us ensure they aren't forgotten. What the Soviets don't know, at least not yet, is that this fight, this brief few minutes in MiG Alley, triggers a strategic shift across the entire theater. Jabara's kills become part of a larger pattern. The F-86 begins establishing a kill ratio that seems impossible. 10-1, then 12-1. In some squadrons, even 14-1. The Soviet command is stunned. They start auditing gun camera footage. They demand after-action reports from every pilot. They hold closed-door meetings in Anton, trying to understand how a supposedly inferior aircraft keeps outfighting the MiG. The truth hits them slowly, painfully. American pilots have more World War II combat time. American gunnery training is superior. American radar gun sights are rewriting aerial combat. And American aggressiveness, disciplined, restrained, but unleashed at the right split second, is rewriting the rulebook. The Soviets begin changing their tactics. They avoid certain altitudes. They restrict certain flight paths. They begin flying only in mass formations to avoid being picked off one by one. But the psychological damage is done. MiG Alley belongs to the Sabre. UN bombers suddenly receive safer corridors. Ground forces gain breathing room. The Chinese offensives lose air cover they desperately need. The true impact won't be understood until years later, American F-86 dominance indirectly prevents at least two planned, Soviet-backed offensives that relied on MiG superiority. Jabara's combat record becomes a symbol proof that the sky is no longer a Soviet domain. James Jabara ends the Korean War with 15 confirmed kills, becoming America's first jet ace. He returns home to Wichita, a hero, a father, a husband, a man whose quiet intensity shaped an era of aerial warfare. Other names join his legacy: George Davis, Dick Becker, Gabby Gabreski, but Jabara's moment remains unique. One man, one jet, a few minutes in the freezing air over the Yalu, and a realization that reverberated from Korea to Moscow. Jabara later served in Vietnam. Tragically, in 1966, he died in a car accident at age 43, with two daughters, a devastating loss for the Air Force community. But his legacy lives in the kill ratios studied by cadets, in the tactics taught to future pilots, in the lessons the Soviets carried into the Cold War, and in the memory of every Sabre pilot who patrolled MiG Alley. This story matters now because it reminds us that technology doesn't win battles, people do. Individuals, names, lives. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state, and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that James Jabara and the 4th Fighter Interceptor Wing do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.